Hello and welcome on Sports Update on Trust TV. Adeniyi Ajishafe. Time to take you around the world of sport, and we start with looking at Nigerian teams when it comes to club side football in Africa. Recently, we have not been performing well. In fact, since 2003, 2004, that Enyimba last won the CAF Champions League. It has been a tough one for Nigerian teams to do well at the Continental. And right now, just a few days ago, Enyimba International and Remo Stars of Ikene were also bundled out of the competition after they lost out in the preliminary stages. We'll be looking at that particular topic alongside Olawale Peters. Good to have you.
Thank you, Adeniyi. It's my pleasure being back to the studio.
Good. Let's start with that particular focus on Enyimba, Remo Stars, CAF CL All-Star, way forward for Nigerian teams in African football competitions. It's really becoming a big one, a tough one, because if you look at it, it seems we're always making up the numbers, and by the time it starts, we just crash out either in the preliminary round or the first round of the competition. We find it very difficult to move deeper or higher in this CAF, either Champions or CAF Confederation. Right now we have Bende Insurance. They qualify. They will be playing alongside Rivers United, but a tough one for them because they'll be facing another Herculean task in all the teams that will be facing next. A big one, but right now we are looking at this, focusing on what is happening and what can we do to get it right when it comes to CAF competitions for Nigerian teams.
Okay, that's a very good one. I think we shouldn't look at the teams this time around. Maybe we should narrow it down to the Nigerian football, totally. So what we need to do is, I think the first thing that we need to do is to go back to the history, to go back to the 70s, 80s, 90s. What are we doing that we are getting right? And what are we doing now that we are not getting right? I record vividly in the past, we have about 5 Nigerian teams that have played in the final of CAF Champions League. The likes of Ranchers Bees in 1975, the likes of Iwanyawu National in 1988, the likes of Shooting Star in 1984 and 1996. So if you look at those periods, all these things that I mentioned now, they are not owned by the state government.
Individual.
The only Nigerian team to have won the CAF Champions League is what? Enyimba. Whom they play last, they won it last in 2003, 2004 season. And we knew what Oji Uzor Kalu, His Excellency Oji Uzor Kalu, what he did during that period. Because of the passion he has for sports and the money is spent to make sure that he motivates the players, he encourages the players, he provides the enabling environment, the structure, the training, the experience, the exposure that they need to really compete with the best. That's what made them to win the competition. Since that time, we've been trying. Rivers United, we saw what they did last season. And they did that because His Excellency also, the former governor of Rivers State, and Wike, what he did, he even sent them to Spain to go and train for 2 or 3 weeks. How many governors can do that? And most of these clubs we are talking about, 90% of them are owned by the government. So the first way out is for us to privatize, to make sure that the government, they leave these football clubs and allow individuals that wants to look at Remo Star. We all know the owners of Remo Star. It's an individual. And since they came to the Nigerian Professional Football League since 2018, we saw what they have been doing. So he's spending his own personal money. We saw what Ifeanyi Uba also did. So that is what we need this time around. We cannot leave everything to the government for government to do. If you look at most of the clubs that are performing outside Africa, the likes of TB Mozambique, and the Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa, Al Ali also, we can see the level of investment, infrastructure that they have in place. But here we do not have it. It is in this Nigerian local league that a player who wants to go for water break, they'll be taking pure water. That's the truth. That's the reality. You want to travel from Lagos to go and play in Kano, you travel by road. Once you get to Kano, you don't even have the enough accommodation. to talk of the rest before you go into, to go and play the match. And this is the same condition that they play when they are playing intercontinental also. That is the problem. There's no issue with that. What we need to do is to go back to the roots, to develop our domestic league. Once we develop our domestic league, we'll be able to compete. We have the resources. Human resources is not our problem in this country. I can say this 1 million times. But what we have is we have the people that they don't know how to manage these resources, or because of their own political will, they are holding on to these resources to use it for their own political gain. With the economic hardship right now, are you telling me that if Bender Insurance wants to go and play, maybe let me say Al-Hali, the state governor will afford a private jet for them to travel comfortably? We'll put them in a 5-star hotel. They will be in South Africa, for hypothetically saying if they want to play a club in South Africa, they will be in South Africa like 5 or 7 days before the competition to get acclimatized with the weather, with the condition, with the pitch, food, people and everything. Capital, no. The governor, they have more issue that they are facing currently than doing this. So that's why we've been clamoring, and I will not stop saying this. Allow individuals to come and invest. Leave this to individuals to manage. If we allow that, what we have before, Concord, Abela Babes, Stationery Store, Inwaya National,
Ranchers
Bees,
BCC
Lion of Bocos, all of them will come back to play again. You won't believe that in this same country that we have two Nigerian teams that played in the semi-final of the CAF Competition Cup in 2009, Atlant and Kano Pillars, because of the support that they are really getting. So that is what we are talking about. We cannot go anywhere if that is not done. The first thing they need to do is to remove their aunt, Gabadaya. They have to do that one. If they don't do it, we'll continue to talk about this over and over again. Then number two, we have to call on our ex-footballers. The likes of Okocha, Kanu Wanko, Amokachi, Ahmed Musa.
As long as you are an ex-footballer
and you have what it takes, come into the country and invest. Instead of investing in all these...
foreign.
Not even foreign. I don't want to, because if they want us to do the advert for them, they'll pay for it. What they are doing is not what is really needed. What they need to do is to invest genuinely into what made them to whom they are today. Most of them started playing their trade in this country, Michael Obi and Co. What they need to do is to come into the country, invest, start an academy. Let's take it from there. So you have to give back to the country so that we can see that, okay, you are truly Nigerian. So I think that is what we need to do. We need to go back to that route. And if we do that, we'll be able to have a Super Eagles, a team for the Super Eagles.
But what about the situation whereby some of the ex-players wants to actually invest, maybe in academy or whatever, and the fear of, insecurity, road, and all that?
It's the same insecurity and the roads that made them to be where they are today. Because when they started, when most of them are playing at Ajegunle, playing in Jos, playing in Kado, is there no insecurity? Road. Is there a road?
Well, it's not at,
if anybody is coming to campaign, for an election in this country, what are the three basic things? Which is, to me, sorry to say, it's very shameful and embarrassing that a country that got independent in 1960, people still come out to campaign that vote for me, I'll give you road, light, and transport. That is what they've been using all this while. So that means the issue
in the 20th century.
The issue has been there, even when most of them are growing up. So I don't think that is an excuse. Even let's know that 2 or 3 or 4 of them have been in the country, they've tried, they've failed. We now know that, they've tried, the economy or the environment is not conducive enough for them to do that. But apart from that, I think they don't have any excuse. In Abuja here, do they have that issue? We have a lot of pitches in Abuja here that they can start their academy. Pepsi Academy, when they started those days, they have it in Kwara State. What happens to doing it in Kwara State? What happened to in Lagos State? What happened to Kano? We have them all over the country, so they cannot use the excuse of insecurity. Yes, there's insecurity in the country, but definitely they still come to the country. They have most of their businesses in this country also. So I think we need to get it right from that grassroots investment. Government needs to hand off totally to allow individuals to come in and invest in it. That is how our Super Eagles can continue to be the giant of Africa. So we can go back to the Super Eagles that we had in the year 1990, Senegal 1992, USA 1994, Atlanta 1996, Burkina Faso 1998. So that is what we really need now. If you don't have that, take it or leave it. We'll continue to lament and lament, because from there you have a lot of stars that you can bring, not only in football, not only in all sports. When we were in secondary school those days, there's this inter-house sport that anytime it's inter-house sport, in fact, it's like you are preparing for exam. You do your eat, you do everything. From there also you can pick people that can represent Nigeria. Nigerian Sport Festival needs to be given more glamour than what is being given now. These are the things that the government needs to look into. Unfortunately, though the current sport minister said is a farmer, but it will prove to us that a farmer knows sport. We are waiting for that. We're waiting for a situation whereby we're going to call on an individual, a corporate organization that, okay, this year, inter-house sports in the Northeast region, I want to partner with so company. Come and be the one to invest and organize it. When they are doing the sports festival, let's know that you are giving it to an individual and organization to come and manage it, generate money from there, employ people from there, and make it boom. That is what we are talking about. But I doubt if they will allow this. Until they allow this, we'll continue to progress. Look at all these other countries that we look today. England in one way or the other, we are developing their Premier League for them. Syria, we are developing their league for them. La Liga, we are developing their league for them. And they are playing other people's league. Look at what is happening to Brazil of today. You don't know most of the Brazilian players before the World Cup until during the World Cup or their qualifiers. Because most of them play in their local league. It's when they are coming to play in the World Cup, say, oh, so they have Bebeto, they have Ronaldo, they have Rivaldo, they have Cafu. No. But now, they themselves, they don't have it again. That is why they are having the current problem that they are having. But most of them are playing either in La Liga, they are playing in Serie A, they are playing in Saudi League, or they are playing in Premier League. So they don't have that teamwork, that understanding, that coordination. They don't have it together again. So until that is done, sincerely, I think we'll continue to lament. When it comes to in Africa, we cannot be the North Africans because they prepare ahead.
And they are really into the business of sports, not even only football. Everything, they seem to be ready for every. Look at how Morocco started with women football. The same Morocco now are dominating Africa. Yes. Look at their men. Look at the way they focus on other sports. I saw their cyclists in Abuja, and they came, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, their cyclists. The way they brought their so I call it cycle now, bicycle, the way they packaged it, what they were eating, everything about them, as if, and now compare, okay, if we were to be Nigeria now, what will happen? Now, this is their national team for cycling, and they manage them as if the way they manage the football team, giving them everything. I actually interviewed one of them, and it was like, they value that, they give them that morale booster, they support them, they give them everything that they need. Go out there and do well.
Until we start to learn from them, until we start to see sport, I repeat again, sport as business in Nigeria, not for someone to have a political advantage over their opponents. Once we look at that, once there is a target from the federal government, the Minister of Sports, Youth and Sports, I want you to contribute 1%, 2%, 3% or so percent into the income of the country on quarterly basis. You go for your Federal Executive Council meeting, you do your presentation, nothing happens, someone else can come in and do it. So until we look at it from that aspect, from that angle, sincerely, we are losing a lot of money. We are losing a lot of money when it comes to this sport. Apart from losing money, we have a lot of talent that we are wasting in this country. Olympic, what happens to us? Our basketball, the male basketball. The second you are talking about, Batman, we have a lot of Nigerians that they can, during the last administration, His Excellency Mohamed Buhari, we had people that trekked.
Of course. So imagine
from Sokoto to Lagos.
I know that particular sport that you'll be walking.
Yes, catwalking.
they should all start.
If someone can walk from Maiduguri to Lagos, from Bauchi to Abuja.
Imagine if it's now
5 kilometers, 10 kilometers within the city. If you have been to Lagos before, Ilaje, if these people, they dive inside the water, You think it's fish that is...
I still don't know why we're not
talking
in swimming.
That is swimming. So we have all these raw talent. But how can we harness them? How can we give them the exposure, the experience that they need? It's money. Does the government have the money? No. So why are they holding on to it? So they will tell us that they budgeted 10 billion naira for sport, and at the end of the day, we'll see nothing. What happens to the money? So I think a lot needs to be done, and a lot seriously needs to be done. We are appealing to the federal government through the Minister of Sport to look into this issue that we've been talking about. It is high time they hand off totally so that the sport and football especially can develop and can grow in Nigeria. Can grow in Nigeria
as business, as we always say. We've been focusing on the outstar of Eyimba, Remo Stars, and also Nigerian teams at the CAF Confederation or CAF Champions League. But really, that we have to delve into other parts of sports, sport in Nigeria. That the sport business in Nigeria needs to be up and doing. If you have to get it right, let's look at what's going to be happening. The new current Minister of Sport is there. Senator Eno, right now has been making some moves. Let's see how that will last, and hopefully Nigerian sport can get better. Talking about facility-wise, talking about privatization, and also encouraging the welfareism of all the athletes in the world of sport. Well, just give you updates concerning that, just to look into that particular topic. Now, quickly, let's run through some stories trending. Super Eagles, yes, even though they've done the business, but they'll be facing Sao Tome and Principe over there in Uyo at the Gosua Akpabio Stadium come September 9. But from September 4, they will be in Uyo. They will be camping there. Super Eagles open camp for Sao Tome in Uyo, 4th September, and they really want to do the business, even though Sao Tome stand no chance to dislodge us, but at least they want to win that game according to the team. Okay, they want to win the game, but must we go with our regular 11 players? After all, we've qualified. We've qualified already, so we have nothing at stake already. We should get some... This is an opportunity to allow other players, home-based players, to showcase their talent, to see if we can get additional 3, 4, 5, 6 players. But like we just finished saying, you'll be surprised. The entire Super Eagles. And if you are talking about reduction in cost of governance, it comes to play here also. Instead of the tickets, the flight money, in lieu that you pay in dollars to all these foreign-based players to come to this country, you don't need to that one. If you get some base players, just garnish it with 4 foreign players. 4 or 5 foreign players, it's enough. So you can save that money to do something else. You can give the local play and the domestic players the opportunity to also shine, the opportunity to discover their talent, the opportunity for them to have a future, so that other people coming behind will look at it that, oh, okay, when we've qualified, they allowed the home-based player to play. Based on that, we have 3, 4, 5, 6 players that have played. We still have to go back to this route that I'm talking about. Nuga Games, we knew the number of players that came through the Nuga Games. Sheyolo Finjano, of course, Vincent Eyema. We have a lot of them that we got them through the Nuga Games, through our domestic league. But now, every time you see them going to UK, going to US to go and watch the league. No, you should sit down at home in this country, go to the stadium, watch the home-based players, and see those that they can improve upon and make them our players. So I think it's an opportunity to give the home-based players the chance to shine, not for them to bring the big boys again. There is nothing they want to prove again. And most of these boys also, their season just started. They shouldn't come home and get injured. Once they get injured, it affects them over there. So they should look at this also and do the right thing. Doing the right thing will be the best right now. Looking at the Super Eagles, they will be in camp over there in Uyo by 4th September as they fight against Sao Tome and Principe. The CAF, that's AFCON qualifier there. Just to give you an update concerning that particular game that will be coming up for Nigeria. It's a done deal. We've actually qualified just to make up the numbers against Sao Tome and Principe. Right now, quickly, let's look at the UEFA Champions League. Games will be on for the qualifying playoff fixtures. Let's just look at those fixtures. Although they play the first leg, let's look at the second leg that will be coming up. Galatasaray of Turkey will be playing against Norwegian team Molde, aggregate-wise 3-2 in the first leg. Panathinaikos will be playing against Sporting Braga. Greece versus Portugal team there, 2-1 in favor of Sporting Braga, while Young Boys of Switzerland will be facing Maccabi Haifa of Israel. If you remember that team, Maccabi Haifa, made popular by Yakubu Ayegbeni as at that time. They'll be playing tonight. Let's look at those games quickly before we move to another story. Okay, I think the team that will qualify is already known.
take it or leave it. And we know the Galatasaray, they have the experience. They've been a regular Champions League team, so they'll have that experience when they play away from home to win their match. Then also Sporting Braga, for them to have won their match away from home. So that means they have that advantage. They are going back home with that advantage, with that superiority that if it can beat you away from home, then when it comes home, definitely will going to defeat you. So the young boys and Maccabi Haifa is 50-50. That's the truth. It's 50-50 in the sense that, okay, they look at, right, they call us young boys of Switzerland. Nobody knows us. We are nowhere to be found, but this is where we find ourselves. Let's spring the surprise. Let's try and win the match, because right now, nobody has an advantage between them and Maccabi Haifa, even though they are playing at home. So for that one, I would say 50-50. But for the second one,
game,
Galatasaray, definitely, I know they will find a way. Then Sporting Braga also, they're going to find their way to win. So those two, I'm sure they will qualify. While between Maccabi Haifa and young boys, maybe the young boys will surprise the old ones.
Just to give you an update concerning the Champions League qualifying series there, games will be on tonight. Now, quickly, let's run through some stories. Even though our time is really tickling, we'll talk about Spanish football right now. They are doing everything possible because they are demanding the resignation of Luis Rubiales right now. A big one there after the man. I just hope that the man will be like, they should just rewind that time. Let me withdraw the keys I give to that lady. I'm so sorry about this. But the man has refused. He said he won't resign, and this has actually turned to a big deal right now.
Yeah, and I had the player also saying that she didn't give.
It was not a consented.
But the picture that I'm seeing here, it's like
a lot of issues.
I don't think you can even turn it the other way around to see both of them.
That's why the FA are saying they are also trying to sue the lady that she's lying.
Both of them, if you look at them, their eyes were closed. It was emotional kissing.
So it shows that something is actually between them.
Maybe something is between them, but it's not something that came as a shock to both the player and the coach.
And the president rather. But the later, news came out that the player said, well, I didn't do it with my consent. I was shocked.
No, and to be honest with you, I'm not going to buy that, because when it comes to a situation like this, everybody wants to save themselves. But what happened that day, sincerely, it's not new to either party. So if it is not new to either party, that means something might be happening before this happens. So they are unable to control their emotion, and they made it open.
Well, we just have to go now. Let's quickly run through some stories now in the world of transfer. Al Ittihad to test Liverpool's resolve with a $162 million bid for Mo Salah. Big one there. And another one says Chelsea considering late move for Arsenal's Emile Smith-Rowe, Barcelona's Ferran Torres, and Rafinha. They are going for a 3. Let's see if they can catch up with the 3. Now, Nottingham Forest. Another one that says Nottingham Forest are closing on Leicester City with Wilfred Ndidi as Bayern Munich show interest. Let's quickly dwell on this just for a second. While Nottingham Forest are on Wilfred Ndidi, Bayern also show interest.
I think Leicester City will want him. They will need him to come back to the Premier League. So this is not the best time for them to sell him, and also for him to show that loyalty. We saw what happened when Newcastle got relegated a few years ago. Most of the players, they stood with them. And recently, Alex Ferguson made a discovery that there was a time that when Juventus went on relegation, he approached Alessandro Del Piero that come and play for Manchester United. He said, no, the club is in problem. This is when they need me most to come back to Serie A, the top league. So I think this is time for Ndidi to stay with Leicester City, to bring them back, to help them, be with the team, and play with them in the Premier League. This is not the time for him to make any move.
Let's hope the man will be staying or move to Nottingham or Bayern Munich right now. We just have to go on the show. Sports Update with Olawale Peters. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure being here, Adeni. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm Adeni Jishape. Sport Update on Trust TV. Thanks for watching.